think 2 years ago that was the only tournament I got to fish, and I didn't pre-fish that one, and I got like fourth or third. I definitely know my way around the harbors. That's where I started bass fishing out of a kayak. So.
What's going on, everyone? It's Billykayaks here with Strictly Kayak Fishing, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The season has already begun. We kicked off. I feel like I was ready for the first tournament forever, and now it's over, and we're here with the winner of that tournament on Alum Creek, Alex Roberts. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Good to be out on the water finally. First time out on the water this year was that tournament, so it was definitely fun to get out there.
Yeah, so first time on the water and you win. So
yeah, great start.
Yeah. And I know it was so cool, like having the check-in. Like sometimes the check-in is hit and miss, right? Sometimes there's a lot of people. Yeah. It was raining.
There was a lot of people.
Yeah. Dude, it was a long day, and people turned out for the measure, and what was cool was Strictly Sail provided plenty of prizes. So not everyone took home a check, 2025 $1,200 check and a trophy. Not everyone did that, but prizes. They took home.
I think everybody pretty much seemed like they got one.
It was funny. I recorded, and no one will ever see this. I recorded like an intro for my tournament, and I was like, you know what? I think this person, and I think that person, and I had all my like expert advice, and then I didn't catch a fish, so that didn't hurt me, but my GoPro was like, it didn't record. I forgot that the GoPro had to have like some charge in the battery, or it wouldn't like the internal battery had to have at least a little bit of juice. So my GoPro never turned on. I don't know what I'm doing.
I want to start recording.
Yeah. Do you record now? Not at all?
Occasionally. I have a GoPro. A lot of times it's too much to get it around, too worried about getting out there and going fishing for. I know it's hard. It'd be hard to fish a tournament while doing it. That's for sure.
Well, you know what's easy is to like bail on the GoPro when you know you're in a tournament.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, the littlest thing goes wrong, and I'm like, I'm out.
I like recording walleye videos. Then I don't care about where we're fishing or anything like that, or giving away anything.
Just because you're like, good luck, go catch that walleye in that spot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't care if people do, but people definitely use tournament videos as references.
Oh, heck yeah, they do. They're like, I saw that graffiti on that bridge.
Yep.
And there was a guy, and I know that guy. But you're, because I have Tourney X stuff pulled up, 30.5-inch walleye.
Yeah.
Let's just start with that. Tell me about that.
That was my very first walleye on a kayak. Back in probably 2015, 16. I've always been about fishing. Walleye fishing started out pretty much, and then being on headboats and stuff, I'm like, I wish I could come out here. Then I finally got a kayak, fish some bass tournaments. I'm like in the spring. I was like, I'm about to, if the weather's calm enough, I feel like I could go out there and troll for some walleye. And I went out there, and funny enough, that's where I met like Nada, and I think maybe Hannigan might have been out there the first time, and a couple other guys that used to fish the trail, and that's how I first met them before I even really talked to them in the tournaments. And they had a whole bunch of walleye, and I caught one walleye that day, and it was still probably one of my biggest ones I've ever caught. So,
well, unless awesome. There's one that you didn't catch during a tournament, which could happen. You could be fun fishing and catch a bigger one.
Yeah.
But in Tourney X at 30.5, that's a giant walleye. But you mentioned that group. I remember meeting you down at Raccoon Creek, and maybe it was around the same time. Like you said, Nada and Hannigan and everyone.
Yep.
That was.
I think yours' tent was right by mine that weekend.
Sorry about that. Maybe I don't know.
Might have heard some things that night.
I wasn't want to start with. I'm sorry, but and you fished. You were, you still are, but you were a hammer on the old trail, the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I'm going to start a family. I'm going to go
Start
do all
fishing
the
Michigan
adult
randomly.
stuff. Everything that you started doing with fishing the Michigan, was that mostly just to stay like closer to home?
No, it's actually, I mean, Ohio, a lot of part is just as close. There's a big cats trail in Texas, and it moved to Michigan. It's only like about 2 hour drive, Cat Lake, and Robert Field and them were there. And it was my first tournament in Michigan. I got second, and that lake, it just reminded me of like river fishing. Like I started using like finesse setups and stuff like that on rivers, and really liked it. And then in Michigan, more so than Ohio, that stuff works a lot. At least it felt like at the time worked a lot better. And then I had a really good day, got second place, and then kept fishing Michigan and started fishing St. Clair and up north in Traverse City, and all of it. Almost every Michigan tournament, you can catch a big smallmouth, unless you're fishing Fletcher's Pond, which has giant largemouth. So, not saying Ohio doesn't have good waters, but those Michigan waters are hard to get away from.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I definitely like hitting the East West Harbor tournament and stuff like that. But now I might start fishing Ohio again. I think 2 years ago that was the only tournament I got to fish, and I didn't pre-fish that one, and I got like fourth or third. I definitely know my way around the harbors. That's where I started bass fishing out of a kayak. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good, when we think about like Angler of the Year, did you already sign up as a,
yep,
as a member?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So
I plan on fishing the trail.
yeah. And you're in, I mean, you're already in with the, for the TOC.
Yeah, good start. This Alum was the one where I'm like, if I could somehow get a good finish, even though with no pre-fishing, that could put me in a good spot, because I'm going to have to miss one of the tournaments. I forget which one it is, but I'll be in Florida. So
yeah,
I wasn't expecting to have that day. I mean, no pre-fishing. You just got to pick a spot that looks good and go with it, and it panned out.
well, I mean, really, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here, was to talk about like Alum Creek and all that. But also, I want to make sure all of the strictly kayak fishing, the audience, the podcast listeners, like get to know you and Alex Roberts. In case they don't know, like you said, you've been fishing some other trails, Michigan. And
Yeah.
listen, you're not wrong. Look, I was with Ryan Parker, Muskegon, when he caught a 22-inch, and you got a trophy and cashed a check.
Yep, on the team event, we got first.
Yeah. You guys got first place on the team event. So Kayak Adventure Series also coming up Father's Day.
That was a blast. That was a blast.
Yeah. You gonna fish the Kayak Adventure Series, the Ohio one?
Maybe. It's hard to fish all of these tournaments with two kids and a busy schedule, but we'll see. If the first Michigan tournament doesn't turn out well, or turn out well for me, I think I'm just gonna cancel that season, focus on Ohio for the year. I always like to be in the AOY race, so whatever one sets up better.
Yeah, you're right there. You're right there. On Tourney X, 114 tournaments, 57 top tens. Did you know that?
Yeah,
dude.
I like to be consistent. Try to be consistent.
9 third place, 7 second place, 6 first place. Do you have 6 trophies?
Yeah, I have a lot of trophies in the fishing shop out back.
You have 6 first place trophies.
I don't think so, because
some of them didn't.
I think some of them were. I don't. It's been going on for a long time. I think I won a Columbus event where it was smaller river bass than when it was around. I don't think I got a trophy for that one, but
oh yeah. And then probably the best stat on your Tourney X profile is 2025 average length 19.15.
And then we're fishing my first Michigan tournament's out in Houghton Lake in northern Michigan, and that's supposed to be a big smallmouth, so hopefully that average can stay up.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I always think it's fun to go through. When I go through my Tourney X profile, I'm like, how did I not quit? I think I got Yeah.
Like 2014, we didn't have Tourney X, so I kept track of like my finishes. And if you go to my biography, I listed a lot of them before there was Turniac. So I started in 2014. I think I got like 8 second places in BKFT Buckeye before I ever won, and I only ever won one. But I got so many seconds, I just never could win, and it took me forever to get one.
Nice. I didn't realize that. I saw the biography. I saw some of that, and I was like, "What is that?" So now I know.
Yeah, for me to just keep track, really. My notes.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk about, Alum Creek and leading into Alum Creek, what your strategy was and all that. But before that, just tell everyone, like, how did you get into, you talked about how you met, Nada, Hannigan, some people that introduced us to this like crazy world. But how'd you get into fishing and then kayak fishing?
I've always been obsessed with fishing. I mean, I have pictures. My parents used to take me on headboats. I'd beg my parents to take me fishing. My mom would take me out at midnight all the way up to Erie, and we'd just go catfishing, fishing from the bank. I'm like, I started bass fishing from the bank, and you lose a lot of lures. I'm like, I need to get off the bank. So in high school, I was trying to get a boat. Obviously, the expenses in my head are like, if I buy a boat, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep it up, or if it doesn't work, I'm gonna be screwed. So I was in Dunham's one day, saw a little kayak with 2 rod holders on it, and I was like, bingo, that's what I'm doing. And then I started looking at tournaments because I always wanted to fish bass tournaments. Saw Buckeye and went to my first Buckeye tournament in 2014. Didn't know, single person, and we fished Kaiser, and I fished a little mimic minnow that you can buy at Walmart, and it was 3 fish limit, and I barely got the money, and it was $25 to get in, and I won $40, and it was like the coolest thing in the world to me that I won. I profited $15, not enough to cover the gas, but I was like, this is awesome. And I fished the rest of the season. Didn't do so well the rest of the season, had a lot to learn. And that was a cool thing about starting back then, is I kind of got to learn with everybody. It was with the Hannigan, Skidmore, and all them. I felt like, we were all in sit-in kayaks, or the beginning stages of the sit-on tops, barely any finders. So luckily for me, I got to learn with a lot of people and get a lot of those places. I could definitely see some challenges, and maybe people are a little scared to start now with everyone's expensive rigs, but it still can be done.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how many people, even if it's like Alum Creek where you did well, or it could be Mosquito or Portage Lakes, some of these other lakes we go to, you'll hear about an angler going to a spot and they're like, it was like 100-yard stretch.
Yep.
And I always think like, man, I could have brought a different kayak for 100 yards.
Yep.
But Brock Spencer.
Brock is a hammer.
These guys. Yeah.
He's always been a hammer.
Yep.
No fish finder, nothing.
Yep. Yeah, man, that's you talked about the 2 rod holders in your kayak. What was that first kayak?
Well, the one on Dunham's I didn't end up buying, but my first one I bought an Ascend FS10 Bass Pro for like $500, and it had the 2 flush mount rod holders, sit in, hard to measure fish without them flopping out. Yeah, that was my first one, and then I got a Wilderness Ride 115X was my first sit on top. After that, that was a lot better. Sit-ins are not; they're definitely a struggle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Actually, I think that's when Brock still might be fishing out of FS10, because you see some of the. I think the last tournament he won, he was in an FS10, so I don't know if he's upgraded, but he was fishing out of FS10 for a long time.
He might be. He crushes it on the Wednesday night league, the Central Ohio Kayak Fishing League.
I believe it.
Nado runs. Yeah, and then he had a couple of those BKFT tournaments. The one down in Raccoon Creek where he just crushed it. He has a way to find. I went back into a cove, come out. I see Brock going in, and I talked to him later. He's like, "Oh yeah, I caught like a 18 and a 20." I'm like, "What?" I'm like,
he knows his stuff, especially when it comes to fishing shallow.
Heck yeah. I want to real quick, because I don't know, I think maybe it might be like a little bit of a teaser. Obviously you got, not obviously, maybe some people listening don't know. If you guys missed out on the Alum Creek, you missed out on cold muddy water.
Yeah.
But Alex had a plan that he'll tell us about. 95 and 3/4. Smallest was 18 and a quarter, and he caught 2 of them. And then 19 and a quarter, 19 and a half, and then a 20 and a half. So you kind of teased it a little bit at the measuring, but I'll give it away. You didn't pre-fish.
Nope.
But talk to me a little bit or explain like your strategy coming in. You launch, and then what happened?
Yeah, so nowadays I'm obviously more comfortable fishing offshore. A couple of years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, we fished a tournament out there and pre-fishing around the same time, a little bit later. I was just, when I pre-fish, a lot of times I troll to cover water, and I came up onto a flat that looked good and caught some good largemouth. And I was just thinking, if it was earlier, I feel like smallmouth would stage here. It has everything they would want. It's close to deep water, has some rock on the bottom, flat with wood. And in my head, I was like, the way the wind has been blowing, it was actually blowing like from that end of the lake. So if there was any clarity to the water, it had to be there, because the last couple of days had been blowing the same direction. So everything that I thought, that's what I was going to go with. So clear water, thought they would be there from previous experience. And I started a little shallow just while it was dark out. I didn't want to go out there. And then within like 20 minutes, I was benching out there, went into the area trolling just as I come into the area. And then I start reeling in my crankbait. I don't know how many times this has happened on Erie or whatever, but whenever I start reeling in a crankbait to start fishing, if I'm trolling, I reeled in real fast, way faster than I was trolling. And I don't know how many times I get smoked right by the boat doing that. And probably 3 feet from the kayak, burning it in, an 18-incher grabbed it. And I'm like, okay, they're here. Just like I thought. So then I turned on the live scope, got my swim bait out that I use pretty much everywhere in Michigan.
Hold on. Last thing I want to do is cut someone off when they're talking.
Yeah.
Are you telling me you caught the 18-inch and you called it?
Yeah, I think so.
If
If you go to my Facebook, I posted 10 fish. My second five, that wouldn't be in the top 5, equaled out to be like 88 inches.
Right.
So I caught 2 18s, 2 17 and a half, and a 17 and a quarter that didn't make the cut.
Okay, sorry. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, so then I turned on the live scope and saw a couple fish, cast that area, caught another 17 and a half, and then I caught another 17. I can't remember. It was a good one. And then I kind of went dead for a little bit, and I went on a flat and seen them on live scope, and then I started catching them every cast. And that lasted about a couple hours, and then it went dead again. Then I had stuck at like 91 and a half inches. And every single fish I caught, besides that first one on the crankbait, was on swim bait. And went dead for like 3 hours. Left just to go see if I could find something, but I knew in my head I was going to go back the whole time. Go into that area, trolling again. So I always like to troll into it. And I did the same exact thing. I burned the crankbait, and literally, I always pay attention to my lure, try to see it as it comes up, because within the last couple of years, I've watched big bass eat lures that have been in my limit plenty of times. And sure enough, I get that crankbait to where I could see it, and the biggest smallmouth of the day probably comes out of nowhere and grabs that crankbait. But I only had like an inch of line, and I got too excited to set the hook, and it snapped it right off. But I knew they were there again, and then I started catching them on the swim bait. Pretty much for the rest of the day, I had 3% battery left, which is just the second time this has happened. I get moisture in the charging port, and my phone's dying faster for whatever reason. I didn't think I was going to be able to take any more pictures. I caught one, 3% battery left when I turned my phone on. Somehow took a picture, submitted it, turned my phone off. Caught the 20 and a half.
Hold
2%
on.
when it turns on.
I already said I didn't want to cut you off, and I'm doing it again.
Yep.
You were turning your phone off
on and off,
and then back on.
Yeah, because I had 3% left.
Oh my gosh!
This happened on Saginaw Bay in the native tournament where I got moisture in the charging port and I was on fish and I caught a big one. I had to go ask somebody for their phone because my phone was dead. I always bring a charger. I have a USB on my kayak, and I would have a wireless one now after that, and I forgot it at home that I can just rest it on if that happens.
Yeah.
And I forgot it, obviously. And then it's been raining all day, so I got moisture in the charging port. It won't charge. Yeah, so that's 20 and a half. I turned it on, 2% left, and I can hardly see what I'm doing because there's no backlight to your phone. So I'm just super focused, trying to get it in, took a picture, submitted it. I'm like, that has to be it. Then I cut a 19 and a quarter and turn it on, 1% left. Take it, submit it, phone dies. Had to have, yeah, I was stressed out. I thought I was going to have to start asking people. But luckily, I 1% left, got them all submitted, and 20 minutes left. I was like, this is what I got. I'm not really worried about it now, but I was stressing. That was the weird thing. My last 3 fish, you usually be super pumped. I was stressed out. I wasn't even celebrating or nothing. I was stressed out about being able to take a picture of it.
Yeah. That's funny.
It was a good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah.
It was like
yeah, I caught a 21. I'm not trying to make this about me, but it's a true story. I caught a 21 and a half inch smallmouth on alum when Parker like called me one day. It was like fun fishing, and he was like, "Dude, get out here." I was like, "I'm like in the middle of my work day." He's like, "I don't care, get out here." And I loaded up and I went out there. Of course, my phone wasn't a thing, and he left, and I stayed out there, and then they had moved up shallow, and I caught one 21 and a half, and I had like 3% battery. And I remember thinking, no one's going to believe me.
You got it off?
Yeah, I got it. Yep, I got it. So
is that the picture you have of it holding it, and it looks the mouth is kind of angled up?
I think that was the.
It looks real long.
One, but
okay.
Yeah, that one was my alum fish was.
I think it was the alum one. I found it. I was sending it to all my Michigan buddies. Like, this is what is here. If you guys want to come.
Yeah. Yeah, it was under 4
caught
pounds.
Any big smallmouth there yet.
It was like a ridiculous. It was like, I don't know what it was.
Alum has some good smallmouth. I think it's gonna, especially after seeing that. I think give it 10 more years. It could. I mean, it's already good, but 96 inches. And 96 inches is good on St. Clair a lot of days.
I think this weekend is going to be. We're recording this on April 10th, and with that 21 inch I caught was on April 17th. So, and it's weird because the weather can be what it is. But I want to ask you a question. 2 questions. One is about your swim bait, because there's the Gobius Dark Sleeper, and then there's where you rig up the swim bait on your own. That's one question. The second one, where you talk about like on the flat. So I know, obviously South Pole, like everyone kind of gets where the flat is. It's giant flat. Mm-hmm. But like how soon do you consider it a flat? Like what depth do you consider it? Like, are you at like 10 feet, 8 feet?
It was about 10 to 15. Just soon as that steep depth increase or decrease stops and it starts to level out. Yeah. It was on the deeper end of the flat.
And it's like 30 to 40 feet.
Oh, yeah. It gets deep.
Have you ever, not just on alum, but on other lakes, have you ever been successful catching fish in like 30, 40 feet?
Michigan State Championship. I think it was my first tournament with live scope. And that's live scope. I mean, especially this last weekend, you can see them, but with one live scope, you hardly ever see them like follow your bait either, because you cast, and if it's not right, if your live scope's not right in line with your bait and the fish, you can't see them eat. I more of see if they're there or not, and then try to cast towards them. I hardly ever get to see them eat, but that Michigan State Championship was my first one using it in August, and I was in 40 to 50 feet, and we would see schools of perch coming along, and you'd see lots of little fish, and then you'd see 2 big marks, and they'd always be smallmouth. And if you could ever time it up, every time you could time it up and get it in front of them, if you got it near them, they were super aggressive. You'd hook them in 40 foot, and they'd always be 20 inchers. And that was a blast. That was fun. It was more of that one was video game fishing, because it was more of just trying to get it on the screen in front of them. It'd take a lot, but if you got it there, you're catching it. I think mid 90s. I think my second day of the state championship was probably 97
And then,
all mostly in 40 foot of water.
and then you're occasionally catching, well, I was going to say Fish Ohio, but I guess it would be a Michigan. You're
I
catching a
mean,
Fish Michigan perch, like a 15
yeah,
inch perch.
yeah. I've
How
caught some
often do you
crazy
catch a
perch.
giant perch?
I've caught a big one in Erie that I got mounted. That was like 13 and a half. And I think I got a picture of one on Gull Lake in Michigan. I think it was like 15 on a jerk bait.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Fish Ohio was like 13 and a half, but it was like
Yeah.
super fat. But yeah, anyone listening, if you catch a 12, 13-inch perch, take a picture of it.
Yep. Yep.
Your your swim bait, I don't need like color and the exact setup and all that. I mean, unless you want to talk about it, but are you doing like a swim bait you just tie on, or are
It's
you rigging up your own? Yeah.
I've tried the dark sleepers and the Gobius and stuff like that. And what's the other one? It's a new. I actually have a lot of the other ones that are I'm trying to think what brand it is. I can't think of it, but I never have that much success on those for some reason. Um, the one I use is on just a jig head and put it on there.
Yeah.
It's a definitely probably my most used lure, and I probably won the most money on it.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
But
the Big Joshy seems to do pretty good.
similar to Big Joshy, if I'm fishing for fun, I'll use a Big Joshy in the same fashion.
Yeah. So could you see the like a bait ball of perch?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see the two big dots behind the bait balls every time, following them around.
Could you tell that it's not shad or other bait? Like, was it obvious to you that it was perch?
Then
Or do they all look the
we'd
same?
randomly catch one, a
Oh
perch
yeah,
on
that's
like a little drop shot. And oh no, what? No, this is I forgot. This is what keyed us into that. They were perch. I fished with a bunch of buddies in Michigan, and they were really good too. And we were all fishing kind of the general area. He caught one of my buddies caught two steelhead out there, and he brought them back to the Airbnb, and I had me fillet them. And as I'm filleting, I'm not even lying. There's like 20 perch in each one of their stomachs,
wow.
little ones, like really tiny perch. So that really keyed us into what they were eating out there.
Yeah, that's
I think I
didn't
had
think about
pictures of that.
yeah. Do you remember fishing a tournament on East Harbor and uh, I caught a pike and you
I
were
think
fishing
so.
near me and I was like, hey, hey, I
And I
didn't
took
know
a
what it
picture of it,
was.
right?
Yeah, yeah, I got a picture of it. Yeah, but I was like, what is this? And you were like, that's a pike. I was like, do I keep it? And you're like, well, it's kind of bony.
Yeah,
They're hard to
the
clean.
Y bone.
Yeah. And then I just took
I
a picture
caught.
and then threw it
I
back.
never really caught one out there until recently. The last couple times I've been out there, I have caught one or two.
How many smallmouth do you catch? I mean, because it's coming up in the harbors.
The only time I've ever caught one, a smallmouth in the harbors, was bank fishing before I got a kayak in West Harbor, right off the State Park Marina little rock wall. And it was weird looking. It was green and it had a big weird thing on its tail. I don't know if it was sick or whatever, but I've never caught a smallmouth besides that in the harbors. I wish they would come in there more often, but
Yeah.
I just don't think the depth. They want to be out there on the lake chasing all the bait fish out there.
Yeah, they're like lost or confused. They're like that
Yeah.
raccoon that you see during the day.
In the spring, they're easy to locate in the fall, but in the summer, if you go out there on the lake, you'll be struggling. It's hard to find those things, the big ones, anyways.
Do you catch a lot of, because I know, again, Fish Ohio, do you catch a lot of big rock bass when you're bass
Oh yeah,
fishing? Yeah.
especially Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair has a lot of big rock bass. And then the quarry by my house that a lot of people fish, the onlines that have big smallmouth in it, that has a ton of rock bass in it.
Yeah.
The
And when they
big
get
ones in
big,
there.
when they're like 9 inch, you think it's a bass when it hits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're aggressive.
Yeah. And they're set up where you would think a bass would be.
Yep, they're usually around the same areas.
So you talked about like the first couple kayaks you had. Like when did you really put a lot of investment into like, all right, I'm going all in on this? And then what kayak did you get?
I've always been a little bit of a step behind. Like I started in the sit and everybody had to sit on top. I got my first sit on top. A lot of people had the Hobies. And then I wanted to just pedal because everyone else is pedaling and I'm paddling. So then one of the kayak shops, and I always just put whatever I win back into it. So, I mean, a lot of it, luckily, I haven't had to pay for a whole lot of it. I've been fortunate to place pretty good and just put it back into the hobby. But got a native Propel 13, I think, was my first pedal kayak. And then it was the natives and all the Propel driven kayaks are great until you get into weeds. And I got tired of clearing it off, especially in the harbors since I fished the harbors a lot, especially back then. It's like, I need a Hobie. Got a trade, basically sold that and traded it for an Outback on the marketplace. And then I felt kind of cramped in the Outback. So there was a business that went out of business, unfortunately, in Michigan. And I got my first PA for a crazy deal. And then did well in the MKT one year. Bought a new one and then I felt behind the game in the motors, pedaling, trying to cover all those big lakes and everyone's motoring around. So I finally got a motor and then behind the game a little bit on live scope. But I mean, a lot of people don't have live scope. But
yeah, I don't have it. You know what? I get kind of
it hurts. It can hurt you. It's not like it makes fish jump in the water. A lot of tournaments, I don't even use it. And like I said, I just more use it to line up, especially structure. Like if I see grass, I know where it's at. Then it literally shows me where I got to cast. But since I can line it up with that pole, but I mean, it's not that huge advantage. It's not like the boats. The people get it confused with the bass boat tournaments where they have 3 of them facing all directions, and no matter where they cast, they probably can see the fish and the bait at the same time. The kayak, it's hard. You aren't going to be able to see that fish eat 90% of the time. You're going to have to be right on the fish, make the perfect cast, especially like that tournament's pretty little windy at times. So, I mean, it's hard to. I use it more for just seeing if they're there now or seeing what's there.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point. That in a kayak, maybe it's not as big of an advantage.
Yeah, it's not. I feel like.
Yeah.
I wish the bass boats would limit it to one per boat. You would see it feel like it not be as advantageous then. Because when they got like 3 or 4 of them facing off, I think they limited it a little bit now, or at least the amount of screens they could have. But for a while there, they could have like unlimited screens, and they had live scopes facing everywhere. So no matter where you cast, you're seeing the fish and the bait at the same time. So yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Only because you brought it up with the reinvesting. You did win like $1,200.
Yep.
So, and I know you talked about, wife and kids and life. And I've been there. I have 4 kids. So the $1,200, like, man, that's your money. What are you going to do with
it? I have my own little separate fishing account just for purely fishing where my entry fees and everything comes out. But I already spent a couple hundred on it. I fished the TOC last year and I freaking forgot my keys in my buddies that I was with in his vehicle, and he went to his spot an hour away. And by the time I realized it, I called him like, "Are my keys there in your truck?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll turn around." I'm like, he was on good fish. I'm like, you're not going to ruin your tournament to drive an hour back to give me my keys and you be late. So I literally drug my kayak literally a mile to the nearest launch. I didn't even pre-fish it, but I didn't want to not fish at all for the TOC. And I ruined one of my wheels. Like it literally, from being drugged so much, it wore a hole in the wheel to where it's wobbling and rubbing against the kayak. So I ordered a wheel. That was $60, and then or replenished some baits that I used, mainly the swim baits couple packs of swim baits I went through on Saturday, and some jackhammers, some ones I didn't have. I probably use the rest probably for a new riverboat. I got a compass, but I kind of want the RVR with a motor for going upriver.
I love my compass, and I'm going to get
It is a great river kayak.
I'm getting an Outback to put a motor on.
Nice.
But I brought up the money thing because I'm kidding, not kidding, where, oh, we can spend it. We made that money. The biggest thing that kids and wife or girlfriend and family, the biggest thing they do is support what we do. So it's kind of easy to joke around like, oh, I won this money, but we're still in the hole.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I can't thank them enough for letting me, my wife especially, letting me go to all these tournaments.
yeah,
She always asked for my schedule. I gave her my schedule and whatever. Obviously, there's more important things that take precedent sometimes, but if we don't got nothing going on or nothing planned, or when we're planning a vacation, usually the schedules are out already, so we'll kind of place it on a weekend that we're not doing a tournament, so I can fish them. So yeah, I can't thank her enough for letting me do all that.
yeah. Well, I mean, it helps. My kids think I'm crazy because they're like, Dad, you didn't catch any fish. So it helps that you're catching fish. But
Yeah.
I wanna ask you a question. So if someone is getting into this for the first time, I think I got into the tournament fishing like 2018 or something like that. Sounds like you were 4 years, 5 years before
Yeah.
me. What advice would you not advice in 2014 would you give someone, but what advice would you give someone 2025 if they were just getting into it?
I would say first off, like if you don't do well in your first couple tournaments, don't be discouraged. We even people have been doing it forever have bad tournaments. Hannigan is a hammer on Alum. He didn't have the best day, but he's still a great angler. So I wouldn't let that deter anybody. Don't, especially if you love it and you think that's something you want to do. Don't let if you don't have the nicest gear right away. Don't let people having nice $10,000 kayaks where they got all this money invested deter you. There's people out there in the national trails doing it with no fish finders. So, and make friends. I have some really good friends over the 10 years I've been doing it now that I've made, especially in Michigan and Ohio. I talk to Hannigan, Skidmore all the time. I've known them since I started, and then I've met some really good friends in Michigan now that we usually get Airbnbs together every tournament, hang out after every day pre-fishing. It's a blast. And then the people you do meet and talk to, learn from each other, talk about what works, doesn't work. If there's something that some technique you're curious about, ask. I don't give away everything, but I give away a lot. Maybe not spots or whatever, but I'll definitely give advice to, especially a new angler or whoever, because there was a time where I fished a tournament, I didn't know a single person, and I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously, it was a little different back then, but
Yeah. You're not wrong. The camping and all that is so amazing.
It's a blast.
Yeah, man. And a lot of people talk about like comparing it to like bass boat tournaments and all that. I'm like, I can't compare to that. But what I can tell you is they sit around the campfire and they'll give up the juice. How big of an importance do you put on the color of the? Because I've always, well, not always. Last few years, I've been like, I need to be around the fish, and I'm fishing fast or finesse, and if they're there, I'm good. But color, how much is color in your opinion?
I'd say it's decently important, but it's like I probably could live with four colors. Period. Like a natural, like shad color, like a IU or a greenish color, especially when it comes to like bait fish, and then like either a black and blue or a chartreuse for dirty water. Or I will say that last Saturday, I wasn't in the dirtiest water that you see in the creeks where it was muddy. It was not that bad out there. I could probably see 2 to 3 feet, probably 2 feet, and I picked almost a pearl white. And it seemed to work great. I always just go off. I literally just match my color to the clarity. Usually, if it's clear, I'm going natural to whatever shad or bait fish, or if it's crawfish, that color. And if it's dirty, I'm either going black and blue, chartreuse, or white. If it's bait fish, I'm usually going white or white and chartreuse.
I think what's funny is you said black and blue, which is to create like contrast in muddy water,
Yeah,
and you
just a
said orange
solid color.
chartreuse right away, and I'm like, yep, smallmouth fisherman. When you
Yeah.
when someone says black and blue or chartreuse, you're like, oh, smallmouth.
Yep. I'm usually fishing like dirty water. I'm usually fishing white or white and chartreuse. I don't really. Black and blue is a good one, but I don't. I have to use a bait fish imitation in my head most of the time, and
Yeah.
black and blue just doesn't do it for me for whatever reason. It works. I've fished it before, but in
Yeah.
my
Well,
head and confidence wise, I need it to look like a bait fish. And if it's dirty, it's white and chartreuse, and if it's clear, it's natural shadish color.
according to Tourney X, it's working. Whatever you're doing. Um,
Yeah.
okay, I'll give you. Let me see. Let's play a game. Don't look. Don't cheat. Uh, how many total? And I get that you fished when you had to like bring the pictures on your phone
Yeah. Yeah.
to the boat ramp. I don't know if a lot of people know that's the deal.
Yeah, that is what we did. It's
Yeah, you had to
crazy to
bring,
think about back then. It
yeah,
was kind
or
of a
you had a
cool little
camera.
gathering.
You had a little Canon power
Yep, some
shot.
people did.
Yeah, yeah, you had it on there. But how many fish do you think you have verified in Tourney eggs?
1,400.
You know
I
what?
don't know. No, I don't know. Probably not that many. That's a lot.
No, it's like it's almost 500, but it
I was
was
going to say that's a lot. That's a lot.
well, you know what? It's funny that you say 1,400 because I
Maybe
remember
I'm thinking of all the fish I've caught in that
yeah,
call
yeah, I
or
was
in
talking
that
to
counted.
Skidmore after East Harbor one year and he was like, "Oh, and he did really good." He's like, "Yeah, I caught like 50 fish today." I
Yeah,
was like, "What?"
that's an East Harbor day.
I was like, "I didn't get limit."
East Harbor's crazy if you get on them.
East Harbor is crazy.
I love that place. I love those harbors.
Yeah. And West Harbor.
Oh yeah.
Um, all right, man. Do you? I'm gonna wrap it up. I told you 40 minutes, and we're already over. But it's your fault. You said you like to talk about fish. Of
Oh
course,
yeah.
everyone likes to talk
Could
about.
talk about it all day.
Yeah. Um, are you? We already talked about Kayak Adventure Series. Are you gonna fish the the Bassmaster State Championship?
When is that? That's just one tournament.
It's one tournament, May 15th.
Ooh, I might have to squeeze it in there.
Yeah.
Hold on. I got all my tournaments. Let's
Don't.
see if I got anything else that weekend.
And it's on Alum.
May 17th.
May 17th. Yep, Saturday, May 17th.
Possibly. Depends how
And
that first Michigan tournament goes.
yeah, and it's not OKF. By the way, I noticed you're wearing the OKF t-shirt.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's not the May 17th it's a collaboration of think of like YouTubers getting together and doing a thing. Steve Owens from Bassmaster said, "You guys have to have a state championship." So we were like,
Okay.
"Okay." So that's what we're doing. It's not OKF.
What lakes?
It's going to be Alum Creek only. So not Alum and
May
Hoover.
17th.
May 17th. Yep.
Yeah, well, if that first Michigan tournament doesn't go as planned, then I probably will, honestly. And I feel like in my head, May 17th, I'd have a good idea what they'd be doing then too.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I was talking to Owen Klein, who also hammer. Owen Klein was talking about like the wind. How much of the south? I know it was out of the southwest.
Yeah.
How much of the wind direction played into your strategy?
It more confirmed. That area I wanted to fish, but the wind direction confirmed it even more. If it would have been blowing the exact opposite way towards the dam in the last couple of days, I probably still would have did it, but it would have not made me as confident as I would have been scared. I would have been pretty muddy and definitely a lot more confident fishing smallmouth in clear or at least decently clear water. I mean, Lake St. Clair gets muddied up. Usually you're not crushing them. Usually you're catching one or a couple good ones, but
Yeah.
definitely confirmed what I wanted to do with the wind direction, the way it was supposed to be at the tournament. I always look at the wind. I have a wind app I always use because obviously I fish Erie and St. Clair, and I'm not trying to die out there. So I have to really watch that stuff real close when I do decide to go out there.
Use Windy or use something else?
I think it's Wind Finder.
Wind Finder. Okay.
Yep.
Well, listen, man. Thank you for all of that. Congratulations, obviously, on first place.
Thank you.
Yeah, you crushed it. And anyone before we wrap it up, anyone sponsor or anyone else you want to say thank you to as we wrap it up?
No sponsors, just my wife and kids. My kids are only 1 and 3, so they don't know a whole lot about fishing yet, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I've taken my daughter out once on the kayak last year. She had fun. We more didn't fish that much. We just kind of went around. But
yeah, I do kind of wonder, like, as kids get older, I mean, the kids of like the Hammers, because you look at like Mike Iaconelli has like Vegas, his son, and you know, I think he has another one too, but they just, I'm like, wow, that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But some of the kayak anglers who started having kids, I mean, you brought up Hannigan a couple times.
He takes his kid out too.
Yeah, does his son get into fishing, and is he going to go out there? And
I know he takes Zane out. It seems like he likes it. I know when I take my kids out, I'll pretty much, if they like it, they like it. If not, I'm not going to push it on them. But if they want to know, I'll give them all the information they need.
Right.
That's for sure. I won't be hiding anything from them.
Oh, you'll tell them what swim bait that was.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. All right.
That's swim bait.
All right, man.
Sweet.
Well, listen, I would love to chat with you forever and ever. But like I said, I promise you I wouldn't keep you too long. So huge shout out again to Strictly Sound Kayak, Brian Tacey, killing it. Hobie, thank you, Hobie. Rogue Fishing provides tons of support and prizes. And thank you, everyone who comes out for not just Ohio kayak fishing, but Cincinnati kayak fishing. And if you fish anywhere, we don't care. If you're in Ohio, Ohio's huge, so much bigger than anyone thinks. Yeah. No matter where you're at in Ohio, we just want you to get out there on the water. Be safe, but get out there, catch some fish, and good luck to everyone for the rest of the 2025 season. And thank you, Alex Roberts.
Thank you, guys. You guys are doing a great job running the trail.